Before and after Ajax's 5-0 win over Maccabi Tel Aviv, there was tension and violence in Amsterdam. According to the city's police chief, there were incidents on both sides. Some Maccabi fans were seen putting down a Palestinian flag from the facade of a building while shouting obscenities about Palestine. Meanwhile, after the game, videos verified by Reuters showed sets of Maccabi fans and locals fighting. However, as sad and disturbing as these scenes were, I couldn't help but ask the question, why do Israeli teams play in Europe? Now, to answer this question, we first have to look into the history of the Israel football team. Bear with me. The Palestine Football Association was set up in 1928 to represent Mandatory Palestine, a region under British administrative control. He's then playing Greece in a European World Cup qualifier in 1938. Now, this team was dominated with an overtly Jewish presence. After all, it's the same association that would later be known as the Israel Football Association after 1948. What followed from the UN's partition plan for Palestine in 1947 was the 1948 Palestine War. This culminated in the foundation of the State of Israel. Some would refer to this as the Nakba, where over 700,000 Palestinians were displaced from their homes, whereas some would refer to it as the Israeli War of Independence. After this event, the Palestine Football Association's name was changed to the Israel Football Association, which we have to this day. Ever since the foundation of the State of Israel, it's had turbulent relationships with its Arab neighbours. This is really important to remember because, as I'm sure you can imagine, when the Asian Football Confederation is set up in 1954 and Israel joins, it's to considerable opposition. In fact, so much opposition, they almost qualified for the 1958 World Cup without even playing a game. Teams in their qualifying group refused to play them. This led to the farcical situation where FIFA, to avoid incredible embarrassment, had to set up a two-legged playoff tie versus Wales to decide who would head to the World Cup. Wales won that 4-0 on aggregate. However, Israel's fortunes in the AFC would change. 6 years later, they won the AFC Asian Cup. It was amid a raft of withdrawals, to the point where the tournament only featured 4 teams, including the host nation Israel, Hong Kong, South Korea and India. Nevertheless, it was attended by then President Zalman Shazar, and it was the biggest moment in Israel's football history. Unfortunately, these heady days in the AFC wouldn't last much longer. A series of events took place which shook the region to its core. First, in 1967 in the Six-Day War, Israel launched a preemptive attack and captured the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip from Egypt, East Jerusalem and the West Bank from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. Then, in 1973, the Yom Kippur War, Israel repelled the surprise attack from both Egypt and Syria. After these events, relations in the region plummeted. These events had much wider implications than just football, but one of the consequences from a football perspective was Kuwait successfully tabling a motion to dismiss Israel as a member of the AFC in 1974. From 1974 to 1992, Israel was something of a footballing nomad, playing as an independent FIFA member. They lost a key game against South Korea in 1977, trying to qualify for the 1978 World Cup. Moving on, they then lost another key game against New Zealand in 1985, competing in the Oceania Football Confederation, trying to qualify for another World Cup. A few years later, they lost a key CONMEBOL OFC playoff against Colombia in 1989, yet again trying to qualify for the World Cup. But this all started to change in the early 90s. In 1992, Israel was admitted as an associate member of UEFA, and in the same year, Israeli clubs were allowed to play in European competition. For example, the national team famously beat France 3-2 away from home. In 1994, they then became a fully fledged member of UEFA. Now, I'll be honest, it's hard to pinpoint exactly why UEFA admitted Israel as a fully fledged member in 1994. But it's clear that both political and geographical factors were at play. Of course, it makes far more sense geographically for Israel to play in UEFA than to play in Oceania. And clearly, Israel is closer politically to Europe than to, say, Africa. With UEFA taking no action, even with the International Criminal Court issuing arrest warrants for senior Israeli and Hamas leaders over alleged war crimes, allegations they deny, relating to Hamas's attack on Israel in October 2023 and Israel's military response, and with FIFA yet to take a decision over the Palestine Football Association's allegations that the Israel Football Association lets Israeli teams based in the occupied West Bank participate in Israeli competitions, it seems like from a football perspective at least, Israel is set to stay in Europe. Hi guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell.